Hello, readers. So, today I'm going to summarize a book named The Stranger by Albert Camus. The story follows a few months in the life of the character named Mersault, who is the protagonist and or the central character of the story. He works at an office, but the nature of his work is not described in the story. Moreover, his mom has just died, and that's when the story starts. But before getting into the story, there is some background information that I need to give you. It is that Mersault mom started living in the old people's home 3 years ago, and Mersault currently lives in a city, but his mom is 80 kilometers away from where he is living. And they used to live in this apartment, but the apartment was so small for them, and the salary of Mersault was also not enough for two people. So he had to send his mom away, and that he did. The people in the neighborhood, some of them had a really negative view of Mersault because some of them were acquainted with his mother and they really liked her. So they were sad that he had to send her away, but there were a few of them who actually knew why Mersault did that, and they understood that because they just couldn't live on that salary. Now all the characters that you can see on the screen, they are going to take part in the story one by one, so it's better if I just give you their intro at that time. Now coming back to the story, the story starts when he received a telegram telling him that his mom had died and he had to go back to that old home because they had to do the funeral ceremony and the vigil. So he informed his boss about it. It was Thursday when he got the telegram. He asked the boss for 2 days leave, and he told the boss that it's because my mom has died. He was thinking that maybe the reaction of my boss would be bad, or he would not agree to give the 2 days holiday. And though the boss was really understanding on his matter, Marsault still said that, oh, it is not my fault that my mom has died. And then he took the bus and the journey started. And throughout the whole journey, Marsault just slept. When he reached there, there was some 20 minutes walk to the countryside. He went there, he met the caretaker. The caretaker asked him that the director is asking for Marsault. So Marsault went in to meet the director. The director asked him certain questions about his mom. The director told him that his mom was really nice and had a pretty good time here. And then the caretaker took Marsault into a room, and in that room was a casket that was not screwed so well. But the caretaker asked Marsault whether he wants to see his mom's face, but Marsault said no. So the caretaker asked him why not. Marsault said, I don't know, why not? And then they sat there in silence, and then Marsault started asking questions to the caretaker that, since when have you been here? Caretaker told him that I have been here for the past 5 years. And then Marsault asked him how did he started the job here, why is he here, and these kind of questions. And then at the end, they smoked a cigarette. And it was evening time, and in the evening time, all the fellows of his mom, they came in. They were about 10 in number, and they included men and women. And there was a lady who was weeping quite a lot, and Marsault was distracted because of her. That he was thinking, why is she weeping quite a lot? Why doesn't she stop? And then they all went back, and in the night when Marsault woke up, he saw that there was a man from those old people, and he was also up and he was looking at Marsault intensely. It gave Marsault the impression that maybe this person was waiting for Marsault to wake up somehow. And then in the morning, Marsault was looking outside and he thought about the walk in the countryside, but then he remembered that, oh, I am here for my mom's funeral. If things were otherwise, I would have just gone out for a walk. And then again came the caretaker, who asked him, the director is asking for him again. He went in to the director, and the director asked Marsault if he wants to see his mom's face now. But Marsault replied to him that no, I don't. And then director gave order to the undertaker's man that you can seal the casket. And then they did that, and then director told Marsault also that we will have to go to the funeral. We don't allow these fellows of your mom to go there, otherwise it's really heartbreaking for them there. I would be here, you would be here, there would be one other person, and apart from them, only one of the fellows of his mom is allowed, whose name is Thomas Perez. He's the second character from the list. So then director told Marsault that Thomas Perez and his mom was really close, that people used to say that, oh, she is Thomas's fiance, and they used to go in the countryside for a walk alone. Of course, the nurse used to go with them too, and that was quite okay with Marsault. After that, the funeral ceremony took place. It was really hot outside. Marsault was sweating badly, and then the whole thing was done. He came back to the city. Now it was Saturday and he wanted to go for a swim, so he went for a swim to the beach where he met a lady named Mary Cardona. Mary Cardona was a former typist in the office, and Marsol and this lady, Mary Cardona, they had a thing for quite a long period. They met at the beach, they swam there together, and then at the end, Marsol asked her if she wanted to go to the movies later, and that she said, okay, yeah, that's fine with me, I'll go with you. And she asked Marsol, why is he wearing a black tie? And that was the time when Marsol told her about his mom's death, and she asked, when did your mom died? And he replied, yesterday. She was really shocked at first, but when they met in the evening for the movies, it seemed as if she has forgotten all about that thing. They spent the rest of the day together, and at night the lady came at Marsol's place. They spent the night there, and then in the morning, early in the morning, she had to go somewhere, so she went there. Now it was Sunday, and Marsol was looking outside of the window, and he was thinking about his boss too. That what would his boss be thinking about him? Will he be offended that now Marsol asked for 2 days leave, but he knew that Saturday and Sunday are off, so that gives him a 4 days leave. And then eventually he stopped thinking about it, and then he put his chair near the window and started looking outside of the window. He was not in a mood to eat anything, so he didn't. He just started smoking cigarettes. He looked at the shopkeepers from above, he looked at the passers-by, he waved at them, some waves back at him, and then in the evening he felt hungry. He went to the shop and he bought spaghetti and bread, and then he cooked and ate standing up, and then he was tired, so he went to bed. But before going to bed at night, he met his neighbor, whose name is Selemanu. He is an old man and he had a dog. Selemanu is married, his wife has died, and right after the death of his wife, he has got this dog for him. He told Marsol about his dog, that his dog has been really pretty when he bought him, but now his dog was suffering from weird kind of diseases, that he had no hairs on his skin and he looked really ugly, that if any person looks at a dog, it would, instead of puppying the dog, they would be disturbed by him. But Salmana told Marsol that the dog has been a faithful partner. Their relationship has been of love and hate, but still they have been each other's partners. So, and then there is another neighbor of Marsol whose name is Raymond. Then he came and he started telling Marsol about his story, that how there was a girl whom he really loved and whom he used to give money and different other things, whose rent even he used to give, but then the girl cheated on him, and then he beat up the girl, and now he wants to teach the girl a lesson because the girl is currently with somebody else. So he asked Marsol if Marsol could help him writing a letter, because the guy Raymond cannot himself write a letter. So Marsol agreed on writing the letter, because Marsol thought that, okay, I don't mind writing a letter. And then he asked Marsol that you have to write a letter of a kind that should actually shake the girl and teach him that he has lost me and he has lost a treasure. So Marsol wrote a letter of this kind and gave it to Raymond. Raymond was really happy with that. And so the night ended and Marsol went into his apartment to sleep. To stop from the story and first tell you about two characters. So Celeste is the restaurant owner, and Marsol goes to his restaurant quite often with a friend named Emmanuel. Emmanuel even works at the office, same office as Marsol. Also sometimes Marsol goes to Celeste alone and eat there. Okay, coming back to the story. Then a week passed, and on Saturday he met Mary and they had a fun weekend together. But on Sunday they heard shouts coming from Raymond's room, so they went into his room and they saw that Raymond is beating a girl, and the girl, the Marsol guess, is the same girl who was cheating on Raymond, and Raymond was beating him. And then suddenly the police officer came and they slapped Raymond and they took him away, and everything happened, the matter resolved. And then in the evening, Raymond was with Marsol and Mary had went back to her place, and they were walking, and suddenly Raymond said that, oh, I want to go to the Moore's house. But Marsol didn't like this kind of thing, so he straight away said no. And then at night, old Salamano came and he was really worried. They asked him what's the matter, and he told them that he couldn't find his dog. He took him for a walk, but then somehow he disappeared and he doesn't know where he has gone, and now Salamano is really worried. And Marsol said that if anybody finds the dog, of course they wouldn't want to take that dog to their homes, because as explained earlier, the dog is kind of ugly. He is suffering from diseases. The dog himself is going to die. And Solomon was cursing the dog that yes, he didn't care about me. I have heard that there are dogs who came to their owners even when they are miles away from their owners. They came running back to them, but I don't know where he is. But then at times he was worried about him because he was actually missing him. And then when Marsol was coming back to his apartment, Solomon came running back to him and said that, do you think he will come back? Do you think that police will help me in that? And Marsol said, yes, of course, they would help you in that. And Solomon was at peace at that time, but then he asked Marsol that, please pray that I don't hear a dog barking tonight, because whenever I hear any dog barking, I think it is my dog. And then after that, another week passed, and Raymond asked Marsol if he wants to go to one of his friend's house that is near the beach. And the friend name is Mason, so he has invited them, and Raymond has already told Mason about Marsol, what kind of guy he is and everything. And Mason is married, so it was okay for Marsol to take Mary with him, because Raymond said that Mason would also like that his wife would have a company of a lady. And so on the next week they went to Mason's place. And before going, in the past week, Raymond told Marsol that a few Arabs were following him, and maybe they are connected to the girl who was dating him or the girl who was cheating on him. And Marsol also saw some Arabs who were standing at the corner of the stairs looking and peeking through their eyes at Marsol and Raymond, but then they ignored him. Now when they went on the beach or at Mason's place, they went to the beach to enjoy. They enjoyed, they came back home, they ate, and then they went back again, and they saw that they were Arabs, two Arabs standing at the distance. So Raymond had a revolver with him, a pistol. So he asked that, okay, Mason, if they attack us, I want you to grab one of them and start beating him, and I would control the other one, I would take over the other one. But if someone, a third person came, a third Arab came, then Marsol, you have to take over him. So they all agreed, and then they started walking towards them, and somehow they started beating each other, and they got into this fist fight. And suddenly an Arab took out a knife and aimed at Raymond, and Raymond was injured. And then the Arab also fled away, and Raymond, Mason and Marsol, they came back home. Then Raymond and Mason, they went to the doctor because they had to do the first aid thing there. And then Marsol explained to the ladies what had happened, and the ladies were white with horror. And after some time when they came back, Raymond wanted to go to the beach, but Mason stayed back at home. Marsol didn't want Raymond to go alone at the beach, so he followed him. And suddenly Raymond gave him the revolver that he had, and he asked Marsol that if you see the Arabs and they again try to attack, then you can use it, right? You can use it in self-defense, or you can use it to prevent me from getting into any further harm. And then they went there, and they saw that one of the Arabs who got in the fight, he was laying on the beach, and the other was also standing near him. And then when Marsol go, he saw that the Arab had the knife in hand. The weather at that time was so hot that Marsol was irritated by the weather, and he was irritated by the Arabs because he wanted to protect Raymond, and he didn't want Arabs to attack him again. And then he saw that Raymond is laying on his back, and he is not aware that there is an Arab standing there. And Marsol went there, and he saw that Arab had a knife in his hand. The glitter of the knife, because from the reflection of the sun, came into Marsol's eye, and he was blinded by it for a second. And he was sweating heavily. His sweat was going into his eyes, and his eyes were tearing up. So he took out the revolver and he shot at the Arab. The Arab fell down on the floor lifeless, and Marsol still couldn't make sense of what had just happened. And then he shot 4 more times at the Arab, who was dead. So in total he had shot at the Arab for 5 times. Then Marsol was arrested, and the whole proceeding started. They asked him for a lawyer. He didn't have any, and so then they arranged a lawyer for himself, for Marsol. The lawyer was short and chubby and quite young. He asked Marsol about several questions, and then he came to the conclusion that Marsol is a weird kind of person, because he had almost no feelings for anything. He is indifferent to everything. He asked Marsol whether he was feeling ashamed when he killed, or he didn't want to ask Marsault about his mom's death and everything, but he said that he asked to, and he's sorry to ask them about those things. And then he asked Marsault whether he loved his mom and everything. Marsault said, yes, I loved her just like I love anyone out there. Yeah, one more point that I missed while telling this story is that a week before coming to the beach at Mason's place, Mary asked Marsault if he would like to marry her, and he said yes, he doesn't mind marrying her. So that was agreed between them, but the date was not yet decided. Now coming back to the present again. So then Marsault also told his lawyer that his physical needs often got in the way of his feelings. And then he asked him whether he believed in God. Marsault said no. And then he was in prison for 5 months. How these 5 months passed, he didn't know. He just would notice every single thing. He had internalized so many things all in life, and at this time he was completely clueless of how to save himself, because he wanted to save himself but he couldn't do anything, because whatever he said, people took the wrong impression of that. People took the wrong feeling. People saw him as someone who doesn't feel anything, because they accused him that, right after your mom's death, you were there the next day on a beach with a girl, dancing and spending the night with her and everything. So you don't have feelings, you are like a monster. And then several times his lawyer also said in the court that, is my client on trial for burying his mother or for killing a man? Because most of the time they used to connect these both things, and his case was got so famous. People were there and people looked at him disgusted completely, and Marsault also didn't get the idea of what is happening with him. So months passed and he didn't realize. During this time Mary come, and once they called all the people who were connected to him for giving their own statements, and then all of them gave their statement, but somehow their statements were also twisted against him. So it was as if fate was not in favor of Marsault. He was feeling so helpless. And at that time, while in the prison, first he was kept with other prisoners, but then he was kept alone in a very small place. So from where he could just see the sky. He didn't used to sleep a lot, and he just was, it was as if nights were changing into days and days were changing into nights, and he couldn't get the hang of anything, get the hang of time. So he started thinking that maybe I should have studied about these execution or the trial things. If I ever get a chance, I would study them. And then he also came to another conclusion that if I ever get out of here, I would try to reform the penal code. I would add one thing, that most important thing was to give the condemned man a chance, because anyone can improve, right? Nobody wants to repeat the same mistakes that they have made. Yeah, there are people who do that, but then it is so obvious to see who will not do the same thing. And in his mind, it was obvious that people should see that he is not going to do the same thing again if he ever gets a chance. But people just couldn't see that through him. They just saw a murderer in him. He missed his mom, and one thing, he didn't know about his father, because his mom never told him about his father. But once she told him that his father has to go on a trial, not his father's but somebody else's, and that person had to be executed. So his father was disgusted by even that. His father was puking because of that, and Marsault said that now I am the one who is going through everything. And the jailer asked Marsault whether he wants to meet the chaplain, because chaplain in these kind of cases, they meet these kind of prisoners. But the chaplain, Marsault always refused to meet the chaplain. But when at the end he did meet the chaplain, and their meetup was not so good, because that was the first time when Marsault said everything that had been in his mind for such a long period of time. That Marsault told him that, we are condemned and nobody can save the condemned man. And he told the chaplain that you are condemned too. You are also under control. You are not a free being. If ever you were to live a life, would you live the way that you are living it right now, or would you just change it? So after this heated argument, the chaplain went outside, and the next morning was the morning when Marsault accepted everything, that okay, we have to die, right? It's okay if I am going to die early than most people, but eventually they are going to die, and this is all absurd if you think about it. Life has no meaning, and this is where the story ends. So I hope you liked the summary. Take care. Bye bye.